Now allow us to make the introductory remark, which is the very praise to the Shamatha. Page 3. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugatha, Lord of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya plan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. With supreme wisdom, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise, then I prostrate. With your body is formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, king that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best glory, to you I prostrate. With the supreme science, face like the spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one God, the lessons I prostrate. the purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, and that dharma which pacifies, I prosper. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy feel qualified with realization, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prosper. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the four faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by waves of aging, sickness, and death. Parade chimba sama chuba nila number tashi pumbo mavu deda laya rajingi tombara number yavu tene sangi tu tsedan demba sharibu danju samba samba chimbo baba jireze wanju la teke shimeso meso rije bu gangla la shiraki parade chimba sama chuba chuba duba de jidar la barja dege jime badan janju samba samba Jumbo Baba Jereze Wanju Gizedan Demba Sharita Dipula Diki Jimeso Sharibu Rigi Bum Gala Shiragi Baradu Jimba Samo Chiba Chiba Durba Deji Daranambara Tawar Jade Bumbunga Bote Dalayan Rashiki Dombar Nambar Yanda Varjesu Tau Tomba Tomba Ni Susu Sule Tomba Ni Shimayin Tomba Ni Legion Su Shimayin Deyin Du Sorwa Dan Du Shidan Nambar Chiba Tomba O Sharibu De Tarchu Tante Tomba Ni De Sinimeba Mageba Magaba Chima Meba Chima Tan Shava Viva Meba Kama Meba O Sharibu De Tawena Tomba Ni La Sukme Sorwa Me Dujeme Nambar Sheba Me Nime Nawa Me Name Cheme Lume Hime Sume Trame Chime Lume Rinjame Shume Do Migi Kame Bane Yigi Kame Yigi Nambar Shebe Kange Bardu Yame Do Mariba Seba Me Bane Kashi Sebe Bardu Yame Do Deshindu Dong Ava Dong Kunjungwa Dong Goba Dong Lame Yishime Doba Mema Doba Yame Do Deda Wena Dong Janju Simbanam Toba Nebri Chiru Shira Kibaru Do Jembala Tejing Nete Sema Tripa Mejim Chapa Mete Chinjilo Le Shindu Dene Nyangele Deve Tare Shindu Duzundu Nambar Shube Sangi Tamje Gyanshira Kibaru Do Jembala Tene Lana Meba Yanda Barizo Bejanju Do Mobarizo Barisange So Teda Wena Shira Kibaru Do Jembenga Riba Jembenga Lana Mebenga Minyamba Da Nyambenga Donga Tamje Rabdu Shivar Chebenga Minzu Wena Jembar Shebar Jade Shira Kibaru Do Jembenga Meba Taya Da Gandin Paragate Parasangate Buddhi So Janjo Samba Samba Chimbo Teta Shiraki Paru Chimba Samola Labara Chavo Tene Chum Tende Tinge Zendele Shende Janjo Samba Samba Chimbo Baba Chenese Wanjula Leso Shejawa Jene Lexo Riki Bu Tete Shino Tete Shende Jitaki Gitempa Shindu Shiraki Paru Chimba Samola Chibar Jate Tejin Shabanam Yande Ramo Jitake Ka Tsune Tsedan Zemba Shara Dati Budan Janjo Zemba Jumbo Baba Jirize Wanju Da Tamje Dan Zembe Kore Deda Dan Ladam Medan Lama Yidan Risa Chepe Chitin Yirande Shonde Teke Sumpa Langom Berete Page 11. Thus I have heard, once the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgriha on Vulture's Peak, together with a great assembly of monks and bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was totally absorbed in the contemplation that examines all phenomena, called profound illumination. And at the same time, the noble Avalokiteshvara was engaged in the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond, analyzing the five aggregates by nature empty. Into the inspiration of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra spoke to the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, how should those of good family learn who wish to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, Venerable Shariputra, saying, O Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of good family wishes to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond, should look at it like this, analyzing the five aggregates by nature empty. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is no other than form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, karmic formations, and consciousness are all empty. Therefore, Sariputra, all phenomena are empty without characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are neither impure nor free from impurity. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no karmic formations, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. There are no spheres of the eyes, up to no spheres of the mind. There are none of these all the way up to the sphere of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, nor is there destruction of ignorance. There are none of these all the way up to, there is no old age and death, nor is there destruction of old age and death. Thus there is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, and no path. There is no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, all bodhisattvas hold to the wisdom gone beyond, and because there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. Passing utterly beyond falsity, they reach beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in it 3 times by relying on the wisdom gone beyond, clearly and awakened to unsurpassed, most perfect and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the wisdom gone beyond, the mantra of great insight, the only equal and unsurpassed mantra, the mantra that calms all suffering should be known as the truth, where there is no deception. The mantra of the wisdom gone beyond is proclaimed. Ayata gati vipati parivati parasamgati buddhi soha. O Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva mahasattva should learn the profound wisdom gone beyond. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and praised the noble Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva mahasattva, saying, very good, O son of good family. It is exactly like that. The profound wisdom gone beyond should be practiced exactly as you have said, and then the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, the noble Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, men, and the gods and spirits, their hearts full of joy, praise the words of the Blessed One. So ends the noble discourse on the essence of the wisdom gone beyond.
What? That didn't inside the market. I'm not sure what to be in the house. I'm not sure what to be. That what we check that to just love sense, but that thing to just chat here. But I need to, but I'm not sure what to say about that. Okay. That and then around there was a negative door, how to be the one. You may like negative to me, how to be yes. Oh, it's that they do. I'm shouting. That late in the George, that delay happening non troops. That non troop in nature, but you did non troops, loves hands, those love your response.
And the Bardua, the Timothy Kagda, this is Shaka. Listen, the message is up. Thank you now, and we today resume a Sunday lecture that is the introduction to Dharma, whether we call it now the moment to introduce Dharma or a lesson and instruction in Dharma. In any case, what is intended in an introduction to Buddha Dharma is the indication of there being temporary experiences of well-being and satisfaction, and then the ultimate in well-being and satisfaction, as well as temporary states of pain and sorrow. And so it is a framework of pain and pleasure, and the causal framework of karmic causality, and the steps involved in understanding this that concern us.
Yeah, that's indeed. But there was a next to the Madame around to use some of the down, so do the some of the down, and the way you was Mosona, there was one. Now the way you was Mazuna, there was Majuma. Now the middle was Suna, down, and do me one. But the dig it for now, but there was amazing, so you need the original, not some of the town, and the digital that the shake that. And I'm that was the shake we are there.
What is desirable then informs what ends up being satisfactory. When we meet with what we wish for, what we desire, then we are satisfied. This is for each person and in society generally. When we receive that which is wanted, then we are gratified. When we do not, then we are in distress. And when we meet with that which is undesirable, unwanted, we are in distress. These feelings inform the general explanation of what is pain and pleasure for us.
Oh, yeah, that's the Madame on the dig it that there was the domain to shake jag that they do Namshadella. So the centers go away, not that you get to do same to do yourself and just by new investment.
Within that framework of pain and pleasure, then that explanation, we may further divide it into the experience that is of physical pain and pleasure and that which is mental pain and pleasure.
Oh, and then you do want to spend the time. The same need to me, you do Luigi to me, Chashavina. But Luigi to me singing. So, I think that's it, didn't tell you. And they do chat. So that's it. She doesn't tell you, won't see it in it. So it's a dig. Now, they do it. Namshab. So, some of the time, we are it. He do. I think want to go to Zuchania and go marry. I need to make it Namjang Chania, my woman. Yasmo married, usually said, you get to me singing. What said didn't tell you to make chat your reasons.
When divided so into the physical experience of pain and pleasure and the mental experiences of pain and pleasure, take the physical experiences connected with the body and recognize that they are connected with the physical body, connected with the present life, possibly connected to subsequent lives, but especially connected to the present physical body in this life. And insofar as this is the case, then in duration of the experiences of that body, they will not be long in duration, and they will not be very varied either, and they are finite in nature.
Oh, yeah, that's same you do singing. That's a deal of same you do. So, what you're it. Inaya. So, Karchirusana, but Sima Pinjig, you do the Jawa Chewa. Your Chewa Yoga Yiza, and same you do Ajang to Zeus and the Rimbo. And they pay more than by Hatton Yachimbo. And the Changi Chan Hajam Mangor Chetan, same you do the Lady to do the Hajangi. And you should Chewa. But they look up Chewa, your essence.
As for mental pain and pleasure, while connected to the present life, indeed, mental pain and pleasure is especially related to those experiences projected onward into subsequent lives. And in so far as this is the case, in duration. It is enduring. In essence, very immense. In its varieties, in the varieties of mental pain and pleasure, indeed very, very various. In this way, compared to physical experiences of pain and pleasure, mental experiences of pain and pleasure are more intense and more forceful.
다 대인도 먼저 다 이 근진 될 때네 다 먼저 가르치고 그랬으니까 이 얘기냐면이 용약하다 이두기 지구 접투야기 합시에다 다 먼저 취했으니까 다 냐면이 와야기 근진디 다 이두기 남샤디 아니 한다 제부지 접투와 동에 있는 양 충으로 내봐서 도야 내와 있는 양 춘주인의 첨부보다 동투야 다 리바기 냐면이 용약하다 다 취를 대신 용기요 예소마
Then for us, in view of this, based upon this reason, what is left for us to do then? Practicing both, we would make for a reversal in the experience of pain and pleasure through the practice of Patadharma, such that pain, whatever there is, would be reduced finally to nothing. And any satisfaction that there is that is minimal will be increased. And this is done through the practice of Patadharma.
뭐야? 다 근데 이제 추억이냐면 그나 딱고 지단 출루고 자면자 용초 그래. 아니 딱 강사가 컴다 뭐봐도 홍보를 때문에 아니 추억이 다 출루고 좀 뭐 어떻게 돼? 이제 중대 말에 이게 강갈로 한단 현진 저를 두고 컴다 뭐봐도 온게 아니 강가 찍 맞주마 망고 잠깐 민저 중국에 강가 선진이 컴다 뭐봐 아니 밖에 나서 봐 여바인자 콜라 빠바게 수능도 받이게 중화를 해서
Regarding spiritual practices, the traditions are various. They are various as the variety suits the variety among individuals in their temperaments, characteristics, and their intelligence. So the spiritual traditions are various. Various again to suit the variety among sentient beings.
뭐야 답변에 단단한도 네 남주 무슨도 남배추 차샤와 이나양 아니 뭐냐면 이게 매기 차네 아니 티바치 중에 시작한 찍래 봐라 아니 대나네야 티바치 중에 나네야 아니야 배가 나다 도세냐 냐면 그 뭐시나 진짜기다 나로로 이제 최니 얘기 간다 유제기 삼로로 따네 아니 고 공부노들 아니 내가 감도 매번 매자 온게 수수수 내가 이번만 시즌은 그 같은 용어들이요 그래서
Here concerning us is the introduction to Buddha Dharma. And the introduction to Buddha Dharma, within the Buddha Dharma itself, there is the foundational vehicle of Buddha Dharma, as well as the Mahayana vehicle. Within the Mahayana, there is as well the Sutrayana with the Mantrayana. Therefore, within the Buddha Dharma itself, there are the varieties of practice to suit, again, the variety among disciples to be tamed, responsive to the variety in temperament and intelligence among these disciples to be tamed.
뭐야 이나니까 뭐 치중세디 곧 교와도 또 야고 그 시토네 그 치중까지 시기가 말했어 딱 한달 수수기 유적이 냠내기 심박이 온 용당이 차네 아니 직 밖에다 대화 랑지불로 대화 비백이 대화 토비하기 되게 토비하기 대화 직 아니 지금 랑다 신 탐질로 토비하기 대화 뭐 된지 대화가 치중기 냠내기를 왜 토하는 그 치중세기 뭐고요 그래서
To distinguish between the vehicles within Buddha Dharma, between the foundation vehicle and the Mahayana, is not to distinguish between that which is inferior versus what is superior. It is instead to make a distinction following a sequence of practice for an individual that which begins in personal consideration of personal well-being, and then is enlarged and increased in intensity to be a concern for oneself personally, as well as all other sentient beings, and an interest in the well-being of all.
Oh yeah, ini dah mah dog coba lima ini ya. dah susu nyamne situ, ani susu tunjuk cila ya nyamne ceni. Ya waktu dia tang, na susu be mampu susu apa ceni ani ya waktu dia kalau buat itu susu nyamne ombu sampai nyamne yuruci dulu na, mah nyamne. Ani nyamne kalau yuruci dulu na, ani kada dog nyamne cina betul cuma ada semua.
Within, again, the Mahayana, in the Mantrayana and Sutrayana there, the distinction between the two is a distinction based upon the amount of time taken to achieve well-being. The short time is all that is required for the individual practicing the Mantrayana. The more arduous, long time is required for the individual practicing Sutrayana. The approaches are fit to the sharpness of the intellect of the practitioner, the very sharp practice through the Mantrayana, those of less aptitude to the Sutrayana.
Oh yeah, ini nyamne situ misu tawa lanco yang berwa. Oh yeah, saya tawa ta lanco ke, tajo cani, ani kudas kita. Beta toni ke tawa ta, ani be toni ke tawa ta jesi ke ta, susu menjawa. Ani bagai ta kandar, jadi cadang cani ta tawa ke namsha tu kami ada semua, betul namsha.
Furthermore, in the practice, there are distinctions drawn based upon the philosophical views within a given group, which are related to the interpretation or explanation given to, for instance, shunyata. The philosophical interpretations are various. These come down to the variety among the views.
Oh yeah, saya tak tiga tinggal tu ta, nyamne sini ke, tujuh ke nyamne ke tu, jumpa cani, tiga tu cuma res. 다 근데 용 거야겠다. 저 가르치는 다 이게 연구열에서나 나 말한저라 요약 랑 진지 생긴다. 아주 거에 자와라 그래. 아니 단지라 그래. 다 간다 준 아주 최시에 로쟁이 남리는 셔봐셔이나 다 간다 보랑 진지 생기. 말한저라 이도 동해 제니 대화 제니 수이네 다랑 진진이 온게 아니 다 들었죠 대랑 진진이 온게 사람 연구요 그래서
아니 대화 아니 taken 닥진진 아니 동화 taken 닥진 니가
네가 이런 식으로 사실
so it is stages involved in practice accommodating varieties among individuals. And why the accommodation of variety among individuals? For the reason that individuals are pathologically self-loving, engaged in self-cherishing. That self-cherishing is the root of samsara, we call it. We call it self-grasping as well. Self-cherishing is that which causes an individual their experiences of pain and pleasure.
다랑 진진이 다랑 당가랑 진진이요 다랑 진진이 생기디 다랑 진진이 생기디 다랑 진진 되게 온게 당가절로 단다지 류를 나자 셈이 나자 오늘 지시 잡대야 셈 마지바 셈 나가 용거야 류를 마대와 류를 배 나서 용거야 다 되게 참아요 다랑 진진 되게 온게 요요 돼서
Self-grasping, as it is known, self-cherishing, as we also call it, that self-cherishing, by the force of that self-cherishing, pathological self-love, we experience the pain, which is, as described above, physical pain, the physical pain of illness and the like, and mental pain, the mental pain of anxieties and terrors. Physical pains and mental pains are caused for us by the self-cherishing mind.
Oh, yes, that they indeed. That rang chinzi thing on Kangal Yore, that rang chinzi rang la shasa, rang la kabu, rang pechina kawa, magina duba. Oh, this is Hamalo, that rang chinzi paramo, penny, let's we are yes on.
So self-cherishing, known to all, experienced by all, is that self-prioritization wherein any personal good fortune gratifies one, the absence of it and misfortune causes one their distress.
Oh, yes, that it is number. That rang chinzi, the wangi, that dunge chungi or yes. I think also to be on that in the Lozon down the Nikamana, to Negana, to Nechunga, Kodi, rang chinzi is chen. That wanted Nangio. I in it, and the rang chinzi is Pizambaya, rang chinzi de la rang dewat. Muala Kawatan, Tungema Juna Magola, Ranchi City, that is Ranchi Dinala, and a pena around with Tanda, Chick Tumbabu, Sanjay Chumdende, and it should be there due to the model about Peva Chinigi, and it just said Chandu Samba, Zugula, that Ranchi Ziglo, your mares, and also Cheraman, Jobata, Shichik, Jushik Vichagi or Resons.
So therefore, when pathological self-love causes pain, and this is the universal premise to the reconditioning of the mind and mind training and the training in the graded stages of the path to enlightenment, where it is observed that the gateway to every pain and sorrow is the self-cherishing mind. That self-cherishing mind, which is the experience of distress at personal misfortune and the experience of satisfaction and gratification at good fortune, personal good fortune. Then the question, which becomes a crux in philosophical debate, in the philosophical debate ground in the monastery, is just this: the Buddha Bhagavan, who first taught the Buddha Dharma, and then those bodhisattvas which followed promoting the Buddha Dharma, do they have in their continua the trace of self-cherishing?
Oh, that Sanjay Chashavina, that Ranjin Lo Pansaras, Ranjin Lo Yomares, and Hachit Haresmus.
Regarding the Buddha Bhagavan, the self-cherishing mind is by the Buddha thoroughly abandoned. This is definitive.
Oh, that Chanju Sanjay Matomi, Chanju Sem Gulu, Sanju Semba Dula, that Ranjin Lo Yomares, that is Tushi. Chebacha, he did resmus.
Regarding bodhisattvas yet to attain Buddhahood, whether or not the cherishing mind exists in the continua of such bodhisattvas is a point of debate.
Oh, yeah, that is Chebacha, she did them, that Chebacha you do. No call it Chanju Sem Gulu, you do them, but she ain't using Lo Yomares. That's it, to a chick. I am not Ranchiziglo Yomaros, the Ranchiziglo Mena, Ranji Harbatundulo Yomares. I'm thinking about Tundulo Yomares. You know, the Ranchiziglo Mares or 20 years.
Examining this point, then, in the case of the bodhisattva, wherein their mind, the awakening mind of bodhicitta, is present, the question then is present along with it, is there any self-grasping, self-cherishing mind? If it is not present, then the question follows, then also absent is that aspiration to the achievement of liberation and omniscient Buddhahood also absent? Here, two pressing questions.
거의 다들 그런 거 연구 그런 거 같이 얘기하면 망고 차는 럽진 걸 대표셔요. 그래서 전이 넣어서 전이 되다 수수이 영내나 키리 아니 렌세 레송스.
I will not go into an explanation of these particular points to examine, as all of our time today would go into that, just to that. And so these are the questions here are for you to fold into your practice and carry along with you.
다 단단한도 시 주고야지 가려서나 다 란친진 딜라 다 남주 싫어다 덴베 토네 랑체바스 주직 난 남주 싫어 매바 아니 랑체바스 주니 이 연삼 시행거래서
So Shamatha, alla di yani simsingere ki kebar la
남주 싫어 다음에 또 싫어 그 심베고 아니 다 밖에 랑친진 용거와 이 남주 심베 싫어 다음에 또 싫어 뭐가 돈이 따외 그 마심베고 당하고 랑주 주 랑친진 도와 어디 뭐 이차고 봐라 싫어 마심베 제는 이제 랑친진 될라 그탑 싫어 그 심마심 개발도 용거 해서
Nicola yani simsingere yare yani kebar diyor.
시에는 아니들이 저들의 렌즈에 힘들어.
No. But what I will add an explanation here is to distinguish between two occasions of the presence of self-grasping, namely self-grasping in the individual who has the wisdom recognizing absence of the personal self, compared to the self-cherishing in the mind of the individual with no familiarity with the absence of the personal self. Here, in this salient difference, you might find a means to advance some solution to the question proposed before.
야디 다르지는 딱 반도직 반도직 제시도 직트베잖아. 장주 선바솔라 동네 미디어바 동네 방도 선바디 요래. 대화 통도 선바디 요래. 마나솔라야 동네 방도 선바디 요래. 대화 rum도 선바디 요래. 직바 본이 랑진지고 직바 요바 있나야. 본이 개발돼. 아니 그러다 랑진지 되기 랑진지 지당
And to add yet again a comment is to describe the bodhisattvas as necessarily having in their mind a desire to abandon pain, as well as the desire to achieve well-being. No different from our own intention and desire to abandon pain and to achieve well-being. Shared here is the self-grasping, but different between the two would be the nature of the adherence to the self of the self-grasping.
뭐야? 간다다 참주 선바된 속에 현재벌 짐베 토네 아니 상징진다 냐면 제발에 말한 속에 현재벌 맞으버지 현 예월 토네 랑체벌 좀 봐. 제가 개발지 그러려 그래서
The bodhisattvas are engaged in a self-cherishing, informed by their cherishing of others, whereas we otherwise are only adherents to self-grasping in view of from self-interest.
뭐야? 다 대체 다 대가 가서 다 대가도 가서 드린 지난 그 삼로 땅땅땅 망주 먼저 다 숨지지 겠다 아주 최시야 이 예수스
Okay, then with that, that's just a positioning of ourselves now and a preliminary remark for an introduction to Buddha Dharma.
뭐야? 다 가서 가정 시에 참 시에 가려서 다 가서 셈 마시바 셈 베르난도게 셈 마시바 파시와 셈 시와 요하게 수도로 시내다 하동세다 계시고요. 그런데 시내 주변에 분다라 시내 공조고 차진 어디 가서 산다 계산했다 진짜 마시시 차대요. 그래서
Which returns us to where we left off, where we resume from the concern with the perturbed and distressed state of our minds, which we would compose and pacify, and which composure and pacification is brought about through meditation and shamatha and special insight. And now we are concerned with what are the conditions which support the realization of these meditations.
딱 가진 않아도 딱 그게 셈 보라면 용다를 채게 좀 봐. 셈딱 한다 디시버로 저때는 셈 내다 그 띵이지 줄라 깨발라. 아니 띵이지 줄라 깨 셈을 좀 봐고 아니 셈내 마투야기 깨 아니 이 이루와 깨 나체 아니 깨디 바세야기 님부 뒤치게 아니 세베 탑이 또 그우다 이지 시기 대시 되기 가능하고 따서 또 제가 샤요래 다 니리 인도 가서 담보 알시 니 사진 담보 참고해야 돼 내가 신의 중에 땡이지 중에 짐바이나 땡이지 두발라 두약이 유도 따지다 망고 요래 이나는 또쳐 두 어디지 뭐 최고 요래서
Then in the stages in training the mind involved in developing samadhi in one's continuum, one follows 9 steps to the achievement of samadhi and identifies 5 obstacles which interfere with successful achievement of serenity meditation. To treat these 5 which interfere, one applies 8 antidotes. There is the further method of applying 6 further forces to meditation, and to augment with 4 confidences in meditation. We cover these bit by bit and have covered them bit by bit, but we are concerned with what is needed by way of support to achieve serenity meditation. There are many causes for the achievement of it, but principle are 6.
예, 사실은 소축 상황도 이 소가 빼져 가서 하잖아. 고름나 고름 까말라시라 순이 까말라시라 빼져 고름 나라다. 신의 그 소축신의 용자 지금 송요를 우리가 지금 신의 본의 강가로다 보야 차진 대체슈 통쓰기 어려서
From the textual tradition, these 6 are specified in Kamala Shila's Bhavanakrama, and they are 6 principal necessary supports to meditation.
예, 다 당고디 튼비 유난 내봐. 튼비 유난 내봐 식세. 장가들 오늘 장가들 드시면다. 튼비 유난 내봐 식세. 아니 대바 총화 이제 아니 초셰바 순제 아니 저망고 용수 빠와 시제 아니 주름 남바 타바 말해서 아니 대바로서 남도 용수 빠와
And the Bala Sopa Nampo Pang.
남도 용수 빠와 장가들
These 6 are these. First, the supportive environment. Second, to have few needs, minimal needs. Third, to be in a contented state. Be easily contented. Fourth, to be less involved in labor and activity. Fifth, to maintain pure ethical discipline. And sixth, to have eliminated completely rampant discursivity.
다시네 고냐 당고 타면 당고데 튠베 유는 내봐세 이게 튠베 유는 내봐세 튠바세 다 세다 벌어 써봐 이거 녀라고 요바 직세 아니 제센다 공부다 아니 신이 내봐게 사실은 많이 봐 사상와 이제 당고데 사상 세워내 봐라 소베 내 상황에 이래서 다 서주 출바 내미죠 사상 숨세
사상
진내 상황
내상 당보대 안에 떠던 거 아니
니엘라와 직세
니와 네 아니 신선
健身的공부를 써봐 대다기 세워매버 내 상황 이제 다디는 서주 출바다 내 메요와 내 상고이만 사상세 숨세 사상 조선
다니 내라서 먹어서
내디디바 내디 세워 코데서 내디 세워다는데 내가 제 내지 아니 수수 대서 방법이 사도 추도 초보이만 내 말이면 그래서 사상하세 아 당가잖아서 저번에 저번에 내서 아니 계획 쪽으로 따왔다 저번 모티브 같은데 매바 저번 투바 요바 조상왔어 그래서 아니 다들 다 되게 제발 예 유모 키우고 점사들이 많이 봐 키우고 매봐 세모 제발 밑에 세모를 아니 이제 자충원 이제 거기 세모를 이 계절다 즉 다음에 남도 제 자들이 뭐요 이제 내조 대회 예제가스 다시 매일은 내가 봤어야 돼 어디 열어서
the first condition set of conditions, the supportive environment involves first the availability, a site that has food and clothing readily available. Second, a site free from threats, such as threats from wild animals and dangers of other kinds. Third, a site in which there's no threat and danger from the elements and of physical illness. Fourth, one's companions to virtuous conduct and no fraternization with those whose activities are otherwise. Fifth, a place free from disruptive noise in the night, which causes discursive thought. These, the features of the first condition, the supportive environment.
Oh yeah, that in a neighborhood devotion. The devotion sent that said the color so very doing that Samboda, Mangola, Chawan never spoke your response.
The second, to be a few needs, expresses what would be less in the way of attachment to such things as food and clothing and the like.
Oh yeah, that means that Chosheba said it. Tamano Sego said that that Tam Yon Chogua, Hella Susu Kari Yoba Tigaran Chosheba. And there's number Junia, Telesama, you know, information was out of them. And Yoba the Chosheba Chene, Chosheba said a little Devachwas, Devachwan Rosen. And that baby you then said an also, baby you then say nor so soon as yeah, soon 20 in the thing is the Devachwas, and that's all the second name of Chosheba said, Devachwas, this one. I can't conduct in the dear, but the shit of teacher to be in a do you chat there, nor that sailor soon at the dealer. It is Chevy, nothing is the new girls, that's soon, ask her.
The third, to be contented as is, describes to the state of being already satisfied with whatever one has in the way of food, clothing, and reputation. Whatever the states of those as they are would be sufficient to one. One wouldn't be wishing for further increase in any of those, wishing for gifts and gratified by them. So it is then, to add one comment to this, that also one wouldn't be concerned with preservation of anything that one already has either.
Oh, yeah, that's what the child will bounce, said the child will bounce, child will bounce, that child will bounce, said it, that comes on to Dunzi. Dunzi Mabana, to make a child will some Shargiri, Chigirwa, and they won't get them soya, with two. Dunzi Mambo, you look at Namdo Mambo Chigiri, tea won't get, and it dumb soji, and to do Mambo, on the Tolakan, 2,000 in it. 아니 돌멩이 저만 고치기로 제가 대비 돌멩이 저만 고치 봐봐 연습 봐. 그랑 공에 시에 있는 거다. 그 하고라 먹어 땅도 땅이 나도 체 수수 땅이 있어도 다 저만 고치 어떻게 연습 봐.
땅이 집으려는 소속이 땅이 집 땅 세발라. 땅 파츠 기지 세발라. 아니 그 뭐 콜라그로그를 하면 소속이 땅 총핀.
민 수수 민
네, 알았습니다.
이제 수들다 삼로 먹고 당겨와.
네.
수수 먹고 당겨와 수들 뒤로 말았지.
The fourth, to abandon or eliminate unnecessary activities. These are the activities in the hubbub of frenetic labor and activity. When one is involved in all sorts of activities, unnecessary activities, for the advancement, especially of one's reputation, then one invites ever increasing discursive thought. So to eliminate unnecessary activities is the fourth.
뭐에 당 아버지 주름 요소도 주름 넘버 다 봤어. 난 나기 영화 샘 참무 영화 샘 참무 시외 치르네 그리고 나기 사 영화 참무 시와 치르지 샘라고 시와라 라리그레스 요그레스 라리그레스 대다다 샘라고 시에체나 샘나도 뒤투고 말해 유마도 엔도 당고 알레 샘지 라바디기 바까바지 알레 샘이 샘이 영화 참고가 버셔고 난 티송아 제발라 수준 송아라 시라비 라리그레스 난 수준 송아 누구야 손
And the fifth is to maintain a pure ethical discipline. The pure ethical discipline must be maintained for the reason that the stability and undistracted, subtle internal states depend upon an elimination of coarse distractions, the coarse distractions controlled through one's maintenance of ethical discipline, the maintenance of pure ethical discipline, therefore necessary to ensure that one remains undistracted in subtle internal states.
뭐야 딱 뭐디 되발어서 베트남도 용수 뽕안했어 되발어서 베트남도 용수 뽕안 세다 치 뭐뭐 이동하다 이도 매워서 딱 망고요 그래 요바 있나요 대담지 미다베랑 시리 지금 최전레스 아 판단 남지 뭐도 지도야 돼 뭐야 차도야 돼 근데 이바 인상 딱 메링 월 랑이 주주 연구 마고와 다게 대다 탐제 당 예벌 제월 주나 냐 반정 남지 뭐도 딱고 예벌 한다 제도야 돼 남도 네트워크 근데 주제 말했어 그래서 근데 메디 네 다게 진내장 하고를 잘라 치기 딱 간다 롱주다 랑이 뉴더 롱주 치기 아래 바이나 그걸야 아니 차바뽕 차는 지금 말에 선도 간다 하고를 차바디 들어왔다 빼나 지지 가르치는 게 잘라 되게 단지적으로 지금 말에 안정감지만도 고민다버라 이제 꼭 돌려야 돼. 제가 콜레스 셀하고 차와 제일 지금이 누구 삼바들. 지금 삼바세로 되는 거.
지금 삼바로.
지금 삼바도 보고 반다다 잘라 치 맞다 미다버에 땅감지만도 관계 지도 그래. 다들 지구들이 지금 이원다 땅에 단필을 잡아주는 지금이 누구 삼바죠.
And the sixth, to thoroughly eliminate the attachment to sense objects that involves the adherence to those objects. Those objects that are things that are attractive or are not, in any case, would be recognize to be impermanent and ever disintegrating only and ever. And therefore, one would develop an intention, a mental factor or derivative cognitive state, that is, an intention to recognize that all of those things I am inevitably parted from at death. None remain with me. This is true of my physical body and all my belongings and resources. Why would I then adhere to them as permanent and allow myself to remain attached to them? Why would I allow them to be to me precious when they are already lost to me? Why a fixation upon them? I intend to recognize their transitoriness and that at death they disintegrate entirely. This is a cognitive state, the sixth.
Oh, yeah, that's in the YouTube 상황이나 아니 YouTube 상황에 뭐는 다 수족이 시 벌써 세지고 등에서 그거 있나 아니 쌤 그투에 여봐다 그냥 다 약보 주장 약보 중 tunje 되게 상황체 아니 랑게 쌤나도 tam 되게 제발 있나 아니 다 아주 되게 빼져나가 지원다도 나와 툭 시다랑게 사상 되게 창을 bomba 있나 나와 툭 나는 등에서 ये तुया ये बड़े छाजे जले सुंग यार सोच.
These then are the six. When all six are present, then one will be capable of achieving a single-pointed samadhi. These are the necessary prerequisite supports to the achievement of single-pointed samadhi. And when one decisively embraces the six to put them in place as support for their achievement of samadhi, then it is said that in 6 months' time, with the support of these six, one can achieve samadhi.
Oh, 되게 쌤 한다 땡이지 bomba 제발라 땡이지 보면 제발라 당보다 당보 저런 게 남자 되게 땜be 토네 아니라 줄었다 당보 딱지chen 딱바체서리 딱또 부르는 거 아주 가진 거시에나 시기 와도 범자에게 조디 당보 유 당보도 꿀ung도 계속 보이는데 다 딱바체서리 꿀ung을 치고 있어서 꿀ung디 다 아주 꿀ung들라 꿀ung 개와 꿀ung 미개와 꿀ung 로마된 숨이요 제가 다 꿀ung 뒤숨은 안에 다 꿀ung 개와 있나 빠뜨리지 제 위로 두고요 약속들을 제 마중에 다 꿀ung 로마된 보고요 꿀ung 로마된 좀 로마된 아니 개와 제 두고와 꿀ung 미개와 있나 아니 등에서 제 두고 말이 쟁이 뒤에로 가지로 와 일단 다 한국 꿀ung디 개와 로마된은 내가 제가 탑이 된 거예요.
In the cultivation of samadhi, an examination of one's actions too is involved. That examination of action is the examination of what is one's underlying intention in meditation, in samadhi. The underlying intention may be virtuous, non-virtuous, or unspecified. In order to achieve samadhi, best of all, most supportive of all, is a virtuous intention. This then becomes best cause for the achievement of samadhi. Failing to have that, next best is the unspecified intention, neither virtuous nor non-virtuous, for the reason that such a non-specific state of intention may become virtuous. And a non-virtuous intention is an interference or prevents the achievement of samadhi. Therefore, one considers how one will apply oneself before their meditation, either virtuously or without specifying.
거의 세상사 뭐 꿀lun디 꿀lun디 로마텐 꿀lun 미게와 깨요나 미게와지 파까 아니 로마텐 수표 또 거야 아니 디네 겨와 깨 딩이지 깨 그로 또 버와 제가 디인다 아주 셈디 그는 셈 콘도 란데와다 셈 되샤 고원도 쇼르게 와다 아니 셈 바카다 니모 고원도 쇼르 데요나 아마도 셈디 가지그래 셈디가 땡이지 깨 귤을 또 두고 말해. 아디 귤을 또 투야 치돌아. 아무 꿀은 로마텐 깨 버렸어. 그래서 꿀은 로마텐로 영향이 치돌아. 다마도 아니 루종 봐. 센종 사디 되게 좀 봐봐 뭐 신고 그래서.
루종강 셈종. 루기 종다.
루종.
A non-virtuous intention may be corrected to become a virtuous intention, but must be corrected into a virtuous intention in order to become cause for achievement of samadhi. When the mind is under the influence of klesha, afflicted emotions, is hostile, angry, or lustful, the activities that follow under the influence cannot become cause for achievement of samadhi. Therefore, one must instead begin in a neutral state to develop a virtuous state. From which one may then engage in physical exercises and mental exercises.
어야. 다디 인디다 봤다 루종 될라야. 아니 맞아. 우 저거 우. 다다 농야 오이마도 우를 장야지다. 아니 루가 대오이마시도 루종 스타 디데고 장나를 바순고 요래서.
And those physical exercises are the exercises of the moving winds along the channels, the movement of these physical exercises.
어야. 제가 우를 장도 잠바 맞아 우 되라. 아무도 뒤 우를 뭐 뭐야 우 맞아 우야마 태야 되라. 아니 우 되라야 루가 망자도 우 나오는 생겨와 나오는 생겨와 나오는야 우야 생겨다. 아니 우마 우 중국 체겠다. 냠랭 타면 우여를 손스.
In the breathing exercises, the exercises of the moving winds, one inhales and exhales, and most often inhalation and exhalation goes on through the nose, in and out, and the practice concerns these.
어야. 나도 우 텐도 잠바다. 아무도 나오는 우 텐도 잠바 우 자진. 백 충분히 게 요되다. 아니 슈진 우 자진다. 슈진다. 고진세. 다들 우방은 태요. 되게 많이 봐. 우 대부 돈 우야 냄도 대부 말도 대부진 땅 거야. 되게 냐면 거래가 소스.
알아, 제단들이 자 찜바당 된저안에 맞제버제
맞제버제. 땅도 문 나와진 대야마 땅으로.
Inhalation and exhalation through the nose, often there is an audible sound of the inhalation and a forcefulness in the inhalation and the exhalation. Through controlling the moving winds, one would gain a control wherein the movement of the moving winds is gentle, no longer audible, and controlled. Excuse me for 1 month.
뭐야? 근데 이들 땅아서 오대 아니 대부분 오야 오고라. 나 템 오야 되가 오. 오도 좀 대부분이야. 템도 좀 오 나를 랩송 선. 장갑 나빠단 그게 이제 장하던 게 그게 더 맞아서 셈나가 좀 가지고 그래서.
So here, then inhaling gently. One inhales, they do, don't they? They inhale gently, and with the inhalation, then reflect that inhalation has arrived inside now, and can count that inhalation, and wouldn't count on their hand or on the mala, but count mentally.
뭐야? 근데 오야 템사도 아니 오 잘해 막 땅으로 땅도 좀 받아 우치를 보통 상가. 이치 그래서.
And then one gently exhales and releasing that inhalation in the exhalation, then one can reflect there I have, there the moving one has exited.
어때를 찍 우야 템바가 마 템바가 좀 차반 내가 차반 찍어서 찍으려 그래서. 찍 차지.
One cycle of the inhalation and the following exhalation is one set.
예. 어떤데 이제 숨유 주지 무슨 생각도 장가져. 아니 쌤이 그게 마시버리나 그 시워시야 탑사돼요. 그래서
And as one goes in sets, set 1, 2, 3, 7, 9, 10, 11, the mind counting, the very exercise composes the mind.
그래서 딱지지 책인다. 딱지지 방송을 강가로 통해 수수수고 간데 다시 다 조금 자대요. 다시 살아 돼요래. 아니 수수 간데 되는 대단히가 나는 별로지 돼서.
Now let's examine this. And now we're all seated, some in chairs, some on the ground, wherever you are. Now let's examine this.
이내다 선바데 중고정도 오야 텐 오도스 칼레야 탱기도 와서 오야 텐 오마 르치도 와서 이제 좀 아니 담고서 셈나 개 맞으면서 오야 텐기 수준도 가르치기도 마다도 가르치기도 직다지 지다 성도 오스템도 탱기 나서.
All right, then we inhale and we exhale, don't we? And when we inhale, during the inhalation, nothing would occur to the mind, no thought, but the observation of what is involved physically during an inhalation. And then in the exhalation, no thought, but the observation of what happens physically to the body during the exhalation.
오 칼레티는 된 수준 같은 거 보면 오지야 텐 아니 마실래 수수수고 가르치기도 됐었나 정말 제수.
All right, then we will do this. And as you inhale, whether you inhale forcefully or gently, as you do, observe how does the body behave as one does. And here we will do this now. Now here we go together. I'll count 1, 2, 3, and then we will all inhale, and then we will all exhale. 1, 2, 3. Now release the breath. Okay, what happened physically in the body? Was there any sensation of what happened? When you inhale, does the belly distend or does it contract inward? What happens? Examine that. First, during the exhalation, if the belly were to distend outwardly, that would be best. And then in the inhalation, there would be a retraction. Exercise so that you observe this.
what the we are can do what to chill back on.
Now we will 3 times in the inhalation observe that inhaling the belly distends and exhaling the belly retracts. We will do this 3 times. 1, 2, 3 is how we'll go. Here's the second. No, release. Now I'm going to inhale again. Now I'm going to release again. Okay, that is the physical exercise of breathing exercise, and in repetitions, in sets of 3, you would have a 9-fold set of breathing exercises. At the outset of a meditation, this is for the purpose of bringing the mind to a neutral state to then direct its intention for the meditation, and this also doubles as a exercise for a physical fitness. There's a habit, however, of in the inhalation retracting the belly, and then the exhalation distending the belly. Then in the physical exercise and the breathing exercises, it would become for us an exercise in which we're also exercising the channels and the moving winds. We would exercise them so that we may inhale through the right nostril and then retain the breath, and then exhale it, ejecting it out of the left nostril, and then inhale through the left nostril, retain the breath, and then eject it from the right nostril, and in this way engage in a exercise of the channels and a physical exercise. So then the breathing exercise in which the belly distends in the inhalation and then retracts in the exhalation. And during the inhalation, when the meditator reflects, the inhalation is now inside. And then in the exhalation reflects, the breath has now been ejected and is outside, and does this in this exercise, we have what is our exercises for the coming week.
하나는 좀 빼져나라. 그는 미개와네, 그는 로마때는 교두잖아. 아니, 다 정달 체 송유하러 와서 이 송유하래. 다 수수비한 기준이 맨맨나라. 수수 셈 마지바 공도 사태로 대샤 수심도 쇼르대로 근데 이나 아니 디체나야 이 셈, 하게 기술 마이 공부 시야. 이 대자도 마자야. 이 때문에 때문도 봤어야 어디래라 정달 개침을 요래 손.
This is the exercise to transform the non-virtuous intention to a neutral state, and it may be employed to daily wherever lustfulness and hostility have one influence one, control one. And when this exercise is performed, then hostility and anger will be reduced, and lustfulness reduced, and ignorance dispelled through this exercise. So this exercise is therefore very critical.
빠지나 수수고 류다 샘다 자 감각이 정달 치고야 여러 손.
Here is altogether in an exercise training for the mind and the body and the channels and all.
감각이 맞아 우또 유에 아주 또와 제만 치네 오늘 야고 템보지 부디 아니 또와 또 사람 또와 대한테 뭐유고 우 라왕이 또는 또와 우도 간데 야마 도동 야고 치기도면 따사비 또와라 또와도 템보지 대하고지 대토이나 아니 우라 라왕 토베 비체를 진짜 비 미제디 남매 마찬가지 대스남 투나 야고 요래서.
And now the observation of the movement of the belly during the wind exercises is important for the reason that when the Shamatha serenity is achieved and has grown stable, the measure of its stability is found by observing the belly. And where the moving winds have been brought into control, one will find a belly that is perfectly still. And this indicates that one has achieved a stability in Shamatha. So do not ignore this exercise.
이 체험이나 저런 그 거기 도선당 요가 센터들에 도고 말에 주제 땅고 말에 수수수 재밌으나 아니 요가는 요가 약효지 자기가 해서.
And it doesn't cost anything, and you haven't got to go to any yoga center or spend any time in any yoga center. You don't have to do any of that, yet it is effective.
이런 거도 다 주제 대샤 이런 것도 진짜지만은 아니 농부다 농조도 제체 아니 그린 먼저 된마다 내가 수수 셈을 보고 여봐 아니 아니 세부 매봐 어떻게 되게 시그레니 막 데스 트워트는 지나 저거 지금 아니 양 데스 세르도 팽그레스 무슨
And now the time has come to wrap up, and we will resume the discussion of moving winds next week and wind exercises next week. And it's possible now that people have their misgivings or doubts that something is left unclear. So we can open up a Q&A and have a debate on any point in hopes of bringing greater clarity to this. So if you have any doubts, please share them.
Yes.
Going through this exercise, so we are just to empty our mind, or we have to have some imagination for some theory.
Tadi tu, 종목 공 ditambah
다니 심 똥에 들이서 그러베 양면에 하시 공부를
수수 셈을 소화 대류다. 수수다. 셈 동바 거면요. 아니 수치로 그래서 기름 거니 하범대로 아니 지금 양신이랑 집어 거니는 동상 동바 셈을 공부 소화해서
This depends upon what is most conducive to the individual in meditation. And one might empty the mind entirely. Another might. Another engaged in generation stage practices might visualize a deity. For establishing oneself in shamatha, serenity, one might well empty the mind entirely.
단단 칠한 게 저어디 됐어. 곰 고충이 하고 차 사적으로 저어래. 단단 먼저 그 시에디 단단 고추도 뭐셈 고용 이 하고 네 그래야 이제 예수.
Your question is a question of a person who's now embarked well upon meditations, whereas we're still at the very beginning, concerned with establishing that first intention underlying meditation.
수수 단단 단단 루종 온다. 단 자다 보면 데모 자 가져 류 가져 대우 유바 지식은 우리는 자도 내다 야고 내다 야고는 룽 야고 중도 룽 중은 안 셈고 수수 셈고 남도도 바가야 아니 라마 톱 그래서 난 되게 편도스 뭐 여래서
Through the physical exercises, the exercise of the channels occurs. Insofar as a physical fitness is achieved, this is too a fitness within the channels. That the channels where the moving winds, the channels along which the moving winds pass. When the moving winds are controlled well, the mind in its usual discursivity too may be brought under control and some independence won for the mind.
아니 장소 전에 그냥 저 당에다 그냥 마무리 로세 배 거용도 왔더니 루이도 도지 기둥 자도지 기둥 틀에 도지 기둥 아니 샘 도지 기둥 배싱하신 대투는 아니 요새 빼비다고 살려서
Those of you who are flexible, limber, are then able to adopt the Vajra posture of body, the physical Vajra posture of the channels, Vajra posture of the moving winds, the Vajra posture of the drops, the bindu, and then the Vajra posture of mind. And with these 4, 5 Vajra postures in place, then you will be very successful. Other questions? In the very back.
We don't have negative karmic imprints and traumas from early childhood and later in life. Is it important to identify and address those aspects? Or is it sufficient to practice meditation and related breathing exercises to achieve a calm and absolutely neutral state?
네. 나한테는 서서 로 충충 인 백갑 델라 아니 독본 양 차르네 양메나 미다르마 차네 양갸르 아니 독보 자자 덴데 양네 서서 심 십대 토비알라 인지 민지 아니 네카 모먼네 아니 독본 양와 네카 덴서 양갸르 딱지체 고그르베 양메나니 중국 공기아발라테네 아니 심십대 도비아 요르베 서서서
지금 다디 수수 뭐만 제사교데 첨배 유나는 유에디 야고 요레스 가르스나 뭐 기버 있는 기버 서로 누워 있는 누가 소토나 아니 수수기 마음바게 자식 간에 두고 있는 걸 팬도 친구 저거 친구 요레스 직세 롱 중은 데이터마도 셈만 축 대봐 반달 그 탑시 지그래 셈 우중도 탑시 지그래 셈 차베 원도 쇼는 셈 보바 쇼는 셈 스팅이 네마투와 셈 시디 메바이나 보마 시투야 셈 차도가 다베 홍도데 원도 쇼데요이나 고추 차도 시는 수수 셈 시디를 네트워크 탑시지래 좀 이제 미지 고직체 직마전 직체들이 남과 말해서
아무튼 말을 it is productive to have memories of the past, memories of pleasure from the past, and pains from the past. For these are what inform what one would intend for oneself in their future. Here in the exercises in breathing, in the moving winds, we have a mere means to controlling and correcting the forces which prevent us from achieving mental concentration. The forces of klesha, of envy, hostility, lustfulness, and the like have a treatment in these meditations upon the breath and moving winds, but one is not faced with a choice between only one or the other.
Just wondering, is it the time of the day? Maybe one thing that I really want to speak to.
Tadinen niwalati ani komdene gyap patu gyap na ani pindo cheshire.
어이 좀 주저라나 저게 야랑사다 아니 맞아 셈 장마 쉬고요 셈마 남도 망고지야 맞아 디미디 디서 뭐 공투나 저저 있어야 쇼도 해서
Yes, in the morning, just after rising, the mind is very clear. It isn't yet beset by very much discursivity. That's the time.
저 무스 칼라산에 그 장마여로 아니 여기 내가 셈이 남도 내가 제일 빼야고 쇼게도 공투나 안게 당부들 해서
One hasn't yet eaten, so the body is empty too, empty of discursive thoughts, physically empty. This is, if you're able, a best moment to meditate.
저게 저기면 그 마음보다 마대어는 아니면 저기 이거 보다 전에 되게 여래서
But if one hasn't the time and isn't able in the morning, then it is fine too to meditate in the afternoon as well.
이 고중도도 뭐 되게 유를 묻히려 말아. 다만 찍 당복는 세샤는 일도 찍이 som시나 아니 전부 때봐 아니 고지 저 검제만 자야 편도 채요 그래서
And at the beginning, it is useful not to press too long in the meditation, but to meditate for a minute, then 2 minutes, focusing upon a stability which then may be extended.
이거 세보이냐 제만 세서 전부 세보이냐 그 투지 자야 대충 그래서
For the clarity of the meditation object and for the stability of the recall of that object, the short meditation is productive. Are there others? In the front, there's one.
I don't know if I can ask a question about the Dharma talk, or are we just taking questions on the meditation?
네, 아니 기시기 취지 나와 대당자의 아니 티와 추적을 해. Of course.
I wanted to know if, I was a little unclear about the expression pathological self-love.
بعدين دي يعني تبرز دا تبرز إن باللود دي يعني 식 결단 데라 아니 더 버칙 사기도 아니 pathological self love 쓰기도 아니 디 진진기 총내 진진기 로 세바데라 더 버칙 사기도 그래서 니 결도 아니 총내 디 잡이요
저 진짜라니. 간다다 이 빼디 얘는 약고시 타래. 근데 빼지 나갔다. 로종 나라 랑진지들라 동네 자리요. 그래서 이 냠냠도 삼도 땅 투나 펜도 친구요. 그래서
the expression pathology connected to self-cherishing is appropriate and adopted in the trainings known as mind trainings for reconditioning the mind.
그래서 미 내가 규를 무지 일 빼자잖아. 마 그때 랑진지기 시계가 여러와. 제가 뒤져도 뭐 랑진지 생기지 않는 거배 가나 배 내다 야고 매봐. 거배 내 하던 거배 가나 콜 연대 유유 봐. 뛰어만 요 봐. 이게 뜻이 개배 지도라 종내 그저 당해서 맞어.
The pathology expresses the chronic nature, the persistent nature of the fixation on the self. It is explained in these terms and fitting to describe self-cherishing as chronic poor health, in the sense that where it is occurring, a person has fewer in the way of positive qualities.
그냥 인지민지 잘 거야 되는데 말해. 뭐 당신이 보긴 배경에 맞아네요. 콜라 뜻이 착한지 여러서.
It isn't absolutely necessary to characterize it in the language of pathology. There's fair explanation absent that language as well. If there are others,
개요 말상이 둘다 제만 하다 저 마음을 두고 선러요 아니 드링은 좀 대샤만 송고서
my hope is that in later lectures there are even more questions, and now allow us to close with our closing prayers.
나가서 대징아도 때 이쪽에서 나를 로제니요 제가 로제니도 마찬가지 요새 정다른 and so wanted to
We have two ongoing topics involved now. Two are the physical exercises. So through rehearsal of these exercises, my hope is that this causes you to come with further questions. And thank you very much, and allow us to recite the closing prayers on page 12. Dema sumbe zera kundu yang jambe yangi zewe jeshune Tembe lemba kuzan lamgi jo Nyingne rube gelam nije jo Rangi jijin dobe lamgi ne Shunja sewe jambe tabgege Rowe yigi mumba sejene Gewe temba yunrin zingire jik Tempo Rinjin Shoji Makyabon Kyabyan Yambar Gyurbe Chonenim Ninje Shemba Yiraba Gyoba Yi Pende Teje Sewar Jeba Sho Seje Gyawe Menjum Chele Leju Chanju Lamgi Rimbe Gyan Ardu Namge Yila Pete Shing Gyawe Zeba Rindu Kyongyur Chik Lamzon Drupе Tunje Drupche Chi Kagin Seje Medam Miming Sera Kundu Gyawe Ngapa Yi Namda Lamda Drewar Magyur Chik Kanze Tiba Chola Shuju Je Tsujin Drula Tsumba Deyi Tude Namge Tatum Troje Ching Tashi Jaso Chogun Chajo Shi. From my two collections, vast is space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time. May I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds, wisdom, eyes blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of the paths of the complete teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by practicing. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may I offer this treasure of happiness to aid all sentient beings. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time, by following the complete graduated path to enlightenment and the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings that eliminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may he always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere.
Dagi Chini Sambe Jewa Di Tendan Doa Bolo Kebara Jizu Losan Jaba Yi Tembe Nimbo Rendu Seje Sho Kanri Rawe Kurwe Shinkan De Tendan Dewa Malu Jongwe Ne Tere Zewan Tenzin Yasa Yi Shabe Siddhi Bharati Te Gyur Chik Jambe Bawo Jidar Jemba Dan Kundu Zambu Deyan Dejente Deda Gunji Jesu Dalu Dalu Gewan Deda Tanji Radu Duzu Jebe Gewa Tamjige Mowa Ganga Shodu Ngamba Dagi Gewe Sawa Digun Gyan Sambu Chichi Radu Muwarege Janju Semjo Rembo Che Mage Banam Gire Yewa Nyamba Meba Yang Kone Kondu Bewa Shu. I dedicate whatever virtues I've ever collected for the benefit of the teachings of sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Losang Trapapa to shine forever. In a land encircled by snowy mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful sinners, Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until cyclic existence is ended. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samatha too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these prayers in the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue, with a dedication praised as the best, by the victorious Tuscan ones of the three times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. May the supreme jewel of Bodhisattva that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has not diminished but increase more and more. 아마 이제 제가 남시 남시 도저히 하고도 셀라요 셀라 돌려서 아니 맞아 수수 나로는 아니 거기 나도 오발이나다 기계 글랍사는 쇼라나 지금 좋았다 지금 레인지 지금 시행되는데 다 아니 근데 지금 지나신 마음 줄어들은 주도 거면 제가 지가도 쉬고 있나 이런 거 봐도 저한테는 나토나 아니 맞아봐 아니宪法做的呀，有头发色的，让公主不要给当一个，자기 야구여를. 근데 나는 공부야 야구여를 해서.
Thank you all, and it's warm outside now, and we have a meal to share outside as well, so share that together. And what is customary after a lecture in the monastery is for the students to go to the debate yard and to engage in debate, the value of which is to consolidate what has been learned, to examine what has or has not been understood, and when there are misgivings or uncertainties that arise from that examination, then to make those the basis for an improved understanding. So then we may do that as well, and it's constructive to do so.
먼저 공부를 있는 카법은 두이자오를 저것도는 두이자오를 저번에 대여만 먼저 질렀다. 추단시라든가 여러 저기서 들어갔다면 백캡산을 와서.
Whereas in the monastery, thirsty and hungry, nevertheless, with great persistence, we engage in such debate, facing hunger and thirst. Here in our case, we can enjoy what is there already to drink and to eat while also doing this. Thank you all very much.